What's up, guys? It's Eric from Rare Candy, and today we're back with another recorded tournament series for you guys. And this time it's going to be from a recent League Cup that we got to go attend in our hometown of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, at Narf and Cram Sports Memorabilia. But here we're going to have the Top Cut matches. This is top 8, so we also do have a top 4 and a finals match that should be posted, so keep an eye out for those. But here on the left we got our boy Fisherman Brian playing Gyarados on the left pretty appropriately, and youngster Joey on the right playing Lurantis Vileplume. Should be an interesting match for sure. We had a couple other games obviously going on top 8, but I felt like this would be a pretty fun match. A couple decks you don't see pop up too often. So let's see what happens here. I hate to say it, but I do think the coin flip is going to be a huge factor in how the series goes, because Brian's deck is super reliant on item cards, and if Joe does get to go first, that could be a big problem and could potentially just kind of roll over Brian if he does not have access to his item cards. But on the flip side though, if Brian is able to get a turn or two of items, he should be able to set up his board enough to maybe put up a fight through the rest of the game. So definitely that's going to be an important thing here. Let's see what happens. Okay, I believe that's a Morlaw in Joe's hand. So I do believe that is what it is. And then I did not catch what Brian was starting with, but so let's see here. And looks like Brian is going to go first. Okay, cool. So that means he will be able to stand a chance in this series. I'm sure he is excited about that. And that's good. He's going to get that Team Magma Secret Base. It's kind of like the lifeblood of this deck. So it's a stadium card for you guys who aren't too familiar with it. Whenever a player benches a non-Team Magma Pokemon, that Pokemon takes 2 damage counters. So you might be thinking, well, why would you ever want to play that? And that's because the Gyarados in Brian's deck does 30 plus 30 more damage for every damage counter that's on his Magikarps. So that's how Brian's going to be able to take knockouts with his deck. And it's also good because whenever Joe benches something, he'll have to take some damage counters as well. But he's playing a Level Ball, getting out another Magikarp, so that's good. He's going to be able to keep setting up. I did not see his hand, but if he has a supporter, that would also be good. He's going to Sycamore. I did not see what he is getting rid of. It looks like Gyarados and a Puzzle of Time and another Sycamore. It's nothing too crazy. And he is going to get a double Carlos energy down. That is great. I'm sure he's excited for that. And he's playing a Dive Ball. Let's see what he decides to get. It looks like maybe a Gyarados. Or I would even... Okay, he's going to go for an Octillery. To me, that must say he does not have a supporter in hand. That's what I'm guessing. Because otherwise, I feel like you would just go for a Magikarp. He's going to play Buddy Buddy Rescue. And lets both players get a Pokemon out of their discard pile back into their hand. Okay, so that looks like that was it for Brian's turn. And Joe's going to start. He's going to get a Float Stone down on his Morlaw. I'm sure he's excited to see that. Here's playing Acrobike, so he gets to look at the top 2 cards of his deck. He gets to keep one and discard the other. He's going to get rid of a Vileplume, which I think is fine just because he probably plays Revitalizer, probably a couple other Vileplumes as well. So he should be able to still have access to his Vileplume for the rest of the game somehow. So he really probably wants to get a Force of Giant Plants down. That's going to be the first order of business, I would imagine. That way he can evolve all his grass Pokemon immediately. He's going to Ultra Ball, getting rid of an Ultra Ball and a Grass Energy. So that's good. That means since he has that Grass Energy in the discard, he is able to get that out with his Lurantis at some point. So here it looks like he grabbed a Shaman EX, so he must not have a supporter or something to work with in hand. Let's see what he decides to get. He is going to Shaman for, what, 4 cards, I believe it is? And he does have a Fomantis, I think it is. Okay, he's going to Trainer's Mail first. I do see a Force of Giant Plants, so he definitely wants to get that. That's going to allow, like I said, all of his grass Pokemon to evolve the first turn that they're played. And he does have a level ball as well, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so he's going to grab that. I'd imagine we'll see an Oddish come down. That seems good to me. And I do believe that Joe did draw a supporter to work with as well. Oh, nice. So he has Gloom and a Sycamore. So this is looking to be a pretty solid first turn so far. Okay, he has Lurantis in hand. So that means he can actually take a knockout this turn. Okay, he has Tauros as well. Nice. Even though he did not get the Vileplume, he is going to be able to still get a knockout here. So he's going to do Flower's Plight, does 80 because Remoraid is weak to grass. That lets him attach up to 2 energy out of his discard pile to his Pokemon in any way. So he's going to keep powering up this Lurantis here. Does have to be careful though, because if Brian is able to properly set up and get a couple more Magikarps down with damage counters, he can actually just knock out Lurantis in one hit. So yeah, I did see a Floatstone off that trainer's mail. I don't know what else is there though. So it looks like he's eyeing down a Lysander potentially. So maybe he's going to Sycamore away or something. I'm not sure what's going on there. Okay, so he has a Versus Seeker for a Sycamore. And does have a double colorless energy in hand. I would definitely consider playing that before Sycamoring. Oh, and he has teammates. Actually, that's even better. So that means, if you guys aren't familiar with teammates, when you can only play it when one of your Pokemon was knocked out on your opponent's last turn, but you get to search your deck for any 2 cards and put them into your hand. So this is cool because he's going to be able to grab these 2 Magikarps, and now he's actually going to be able to just take a return knockout on this Lurantis. Okay, so he's going to get 2 damage counters on each of those. So that means 6 Magikarps with damage counters, which means he'll be able to do 210 damage, just enough to knock out this Lurantis GX. So Brian's got to be feeling pretty good about his situation right now. And here's just kind of a tricky spot because anything he promotes is going to get knocked out. So I think he really needs to take a couple turns to manually power up a Lurantis GX. That's one of the only things I could really see him doing here. Or maybe if he can like Lysander a Magikarp and take it out with Lurantis, maybe that could work. I don't know. This is definitely a scary position to be in. That's why it is so important for Joe to get the turn 1 item lock. So you can see, since Brian has, access to all these different item cards and he was able to set up properly, you can kind of just one-shot anything that Joe promotes. And that's one of the things that makes the Gyarados deck so strong. If you don't have a way to snipe these bench Magikarps in some way, or a way to prevent, Brian from attaching his energies or something like that, Gyarados is actually a very, very powerful deck. Okay, it looks like he's going to use Puzzle of Time to get back, what was that, teammates and a Lysander. Here yet again, he's just going to do Gyarados' attack. I think it's Full Retaliation, I believe it's the name of it. I forget. So let's see what Joe has to work with here. Okay, so we do see a Lurantis come down. And I'd hate to say it, man, that is rough. Again, if he has a Lysander or a way to take out... Oh, okay. He's going to actually attack with Mortal. I believe it puts Gyarados to sleep. And I'm assuming... Okay, so he is actually going to stay asleep, it looks like. So that's going to buy Joe a turn. Only problem is he still doesn't have any... He still doesn't really have a Lurantis powered up. So even if Gyarados stays asleep, he's still not really doing that much right now, but maybe this will buy him enough time to maybe top deck into a supporter or something else. So here it looks like he's just oh, he's gonna Kukui. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see what he gets off that. I think I see a dive ball. I mean, he has a lot of stuff in his hands, but really nothing he can do to get rid of this status condition, it looks like. Here's just going to pass. Let's see if he wakes up. Tail. So Gyarados is going to stay asleep, so maybe Joe can get a little lucky to creep back into the game thanks to this status condition. He really needs to hit manual attachments. Okay, cool. So he does have a grass energy. Like I said, he really can't miss an attachment for the next couple turns, I don't think, here. But I have to say the odds are not on his side here as far as this, if for Gyarados to stay asleep. So he really needs Gyarados to stay asleep this turn in order to mount any sort of comeback, I think. And he does stay asleep. So ideally, if Joe can top deck an N and Brian down to a low hand size while taking out the Gyarados, that'd be optimal because Brian's hand is just so huge. There's no way he doesn't have access to what he would need to take a return KO. So let's see what he decides to do. Again, if I'm Brian, that's the only thing I'm really stressing about here. I would actually, okay, he's going to Lysander. Going for the Shaman, he only needs to take 2 prizes. So he's, I think, going to try to buy himself a turn, knowing that Joe's hand has been kind of dead. Hopefully he doesn't have the energy to retreat the Shaman, and then Gyarados can just take his final knockout. Okay, so he stays asleep yet again. Okay, and Joe does have the energy to retreat. And I imagine we're going to see this Lurantis knock out Gyarados here. But like I said, even if Joe takes a knockout here, Brian's hand is just so big that he definitely has access to whatever he needs. He has teammates, he has Gyarados. There's no way he won't have what he needs. So, but he just has to risk it. He doesn't really have anything else he can do, so he just has to take the knockout and hope that Brian's hand is clunky. Okay, but here he does have the Gyarados, and I'd imagine we'll probably see a teammates to get a buddy-buddy rescue or some way to get Magikarp back onto the bench. Oh, but yeah, he just had Lysander anyway, so there he can just take a knockout. So Brian is going to take the first game in the series, but this is best 2 out of 3, so that means Joe still does have a chance to take the next 2 games to win the series. And so in a best 2 out of 3 series, the loser of each game gets to decide who goes first. So no doubt Joe is going to want to opt to go first to hopefully establish that turn 1 Vileplume and cut off Brian's item cards. He kind of he had a solid opening on his first turn, but then after he Sycamored, I think it was, he just didn't have anything else to work with for the following turn. So definitely not, definitely not how he wants his deck to work. But you can see the Gyarados deck kind of worked just as expected. If, like I said, if you don't have a way to spread damage or pick off these Magikarps or prevent his energies from being attached or something like that, Gyarados is actually a pretty scary card, especially since it only gives up 1 prize. So yeah, I think both players did fine. They both kind of approached this game how they should. I don't think there's a whole lot of wiggle room in terms of the strategy you can take here. Brian's just trying to go fast. Same thing for Joe. Joe just needs turn 1 Vileplume. I think that's just the biggest thing he absolutely needs. So we'll just have to see if he has some better luck during this game here. Okay, so let's see what they start with. And I believe Joe has a mulligan. Okay, and Brian does as well, so they're both probably happy about that. Neither player gets to draw an extra card. And actually kind of surprised the Lurantis deck mulligan. It usually plays a decent amount of basics, probably 3 to 4 Fomantis, 3 Oddish, 2 to 3 Shaman, probably 1 Morlul, 1 Tauros. So I feel like the odds definitely are in his favor not to mulligan, but Gyarados on the other hand only plays like, I think, 6 or 7 basics, so it's kind of expected for Gyarados to mulligan sometimes. It looks like they're checking, or he's checking for something in his deck, but anyways, so here they're going to cut, and hopefully we can see this game get underway. Okay, I believe Joe does have a Fomantis and a Morlul to start with. Okay, so it looks like the next game is going to get started. Joe's going to draw for turn. He has Trainer's Mail in his hand, so maybe he can get a Forest of Giant Plants. Kate is going to fail the Trainer's Mail, so maybe that tells me he has a Sycamore or a supporter in hand already. That would be my best guess, at least. And we do see a Grass Energy in hand. Okay, he has the Forest of Giant Plants. That's good. I would imagine we'll see him bench the Morlul. That seems fine. And then just Sycamore. He's going to get rid of a Grass Energy, I believe a Lysander, and I could not see the other card. It was some other trainer card. Okay, so I do see Vileplume in hand. He's going to get a Float Stone down, but he really needs to get like an Oddish or something. And okay, he actually just passed, and definitely not the same explosive first turn he had last game. And I see that's actually a really big missed opportunity here, because that's going to allow Brian to kind of do his thing, get down his Magikarps and all that. Looks like he's just taking a peek through his deck and maybe seeing what all is prized. I do see a couple Magikarps in there, so he should have at least 1 or 2 to pick from. But he's actually favoring the Remoraid here. That's interesting. Well, I guess that's probably actually the better play, just because he does not have the Magma Secret Base in play just yet. Okay, but he's going to go for the Dive Ball anyways. And now I'd imagine, okay, so we will see his Magikarp come down. And I do see a double Carlos Energy in hand, so he does have an attachment. Okay, he's going to use Trainer's Mail. Okay, he's going to grab Acrobike. So he is choosing not to bench this Magikarp just yet. He just wants to get it out of his deck. That way, probably to increase his chances of hitting what he needs off these cards like Trainer's Mail and Acrobike. So I'm sure he's looking for that Team Magma Secret Base here. Does he get it? Yes, I think that's a Hex Maniac and a Buddy Buddy Rescue, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so he's going to opt to get rid of the Hex Maniac. That makes sense just because he can get that back with Versus Secret if need be. He does have an Ultra Ball in hand as well, so maybe he can go for a Shaman. I'm not sure if he has one or not. And he is going to play Hex Maniac to prevent Joe from playing any abilities on his next turn. So he will not be able to, you know, dig for Shamans and things like that to really go through his deck as much as possible. Here he's going to Sycamore, getting rid of... Interesting, he plays his own Hex Maniac. And I saw some other cards in there too. I couldn't make out what they were though. So let's see what he can get this turn. I'm sure he really just needs a Lurantis to take a knockout on this Magikarp. Okay, he's going to play Acrobike. Let's see what he opts to get rid of here. I did not see what the cards were. He's going to get rid of an Ultra Ball. Okay, it looks like he grabbed a Lysander off of the Acrobike. Okay, he's going to play Ultra Ball, so that seems good. He definitely wants to get down a Lurantis this turn. That is so crucial. Okay, so he's going to be able to knock out this Magikarp. Again, the only unfortunate part, though, is that Brian still is going to have access to his item cards, and he does have an Ultra Ball in his hand, so he will be able to grab an Octillery on his turn. Or at least, I'm pretty sure it was an Ultra Ball that was in Brian's hand. So here he's going to Flower Supply to knock out that Magikarp. So we're probably going to see an Ultra Ball happen here. Maybe getting rid of... Definitely the Enhanced Hammer. And it looks like he's opting to get rid of the Buddy Buddy Rescue. So he is going to grab Octillery. That seems just fine to me. The only unfortunate thing about Brian's turn right now, though, is that he will be unable to get a Gyarados out this turn. Just because he didn't have any Magikarps in play last turn. His only one got knocked out. But he does get down his Team Magma secret base here. And let's see what else he has to work with. Does have Sycamore in hand. I believe I see a Dive Ball, if I'm not mistaken. If he does have Dive Ball, okay, it is. I definitely want to see him get down yet another Magikarp to, keep setting up his board if possible. And I believe that actually might be Brian's last Magikarp. I did not see another one in his deck when I was getting to peek through it there. So he is not really going to be able to take a one-hit knockout on this Lurantis, which is definitely a little annoying for him, I'm sure. Okay, it looks like he's going to Professor Sycamore, getting rid of a Verse Seeker and refilling his hand to draw 7. Okay, so I see Puzzle of Time, I see Super Rod. I believe I see a Gyarados he'll be able to use next turn. So I'm not sure what else he really wants to do this turn. He has teammates in his hand. Okay, he is going to double puzzle. Again, probably just wants to play these before. Okay, so the other Magikarp was in the discard pile. My mistake, guys. So he's going to get the Magikarp, and then I'm not sure what else. Maybe okay, so he's going to grab Sycamore. That seems good to me for next turn, just in case he does get item locked. So I think Brian's actually in a good spot here because Octillery is probably going to go down, which will allow him to promote a Magikarp and evolve into Gyarados. But I actually do see a Lysander in his hand, so he's actually going to grab the Magikarp with the DC. I think that's a good play too. That way he gets to knock that out, take a prize. So that's going to force Brian to have just another, a couple combinations of cards to make something happen. So he really needs a double Colorless Energy, a Float Stone, and a way to get Magikarp back. So he is going to play Super Rod. I believe that is the only thing in his discard pile, though. So Super Rod lets him shuffle 3 Pokemon and or basic energy from his discard into his deck. So that tells me he's probably going to play... Oh, okay, so he has the Level Ball in hand. He can just search it right out. I was going to say he might play Sycamore. But we still might even see a Sycamore. We do need to see a double Colorless Energy come down and a Float Stone in order to take a knockout. Okay, and he has teammates in hand, so perfect. He should be able to get everything he needs, the Float Stone and the double Colorless Energy. And I gotta say, things are not going to be looking good for Joe after this turn, though, because he hasn't really played too much. He does not have his item lock established yet. The one thing he does have going for him, this Gyarados will have a couple damage counters on him, so that means Lurantis' Solar Blade attack will be able to knock it out if he does manage to be able to power up another Lurantis at some point. Okay, and we're going to see an attack here. He's going to knock out Lurantis GX, like I said. And here, Joe, I think you should just promote the Morlo. It has a Float Stone. No risk in that. Okay, so let's see what he has. I can't see what he play. Okay, he has a Tauros GX, Forest of Giant Plants. And I think technically the Tauros should take 2 damage counters, though, just because he did play it down before Forest of Giant Plants came into play. But, maybe they're just not that worried about it, or maybe no one caught it. But here you have to... Oh, okay, so he has another Lysander. So this is actually okay as well, but downside is Brian does have a lot of cards to work with, but he is going to Flower Supply, take a knockout, and power up this Lurantis. I'm not sure what he has in hand, but I would almost like to see the grass come down on Tauros instead. Okay, Brian does have the Magma Secret base. He has Buddy Buddy Rescue. So he is able to take yet another knockout on this Lurantis GX. Okay, and it looked like Joe did grab a Vileplume off the Buddy Buddy rescue as well, because both players do get one. But here, Brian's just going to retreat the Octillery as expected, and we'll probably see another knockout here. Yep. So let's see what Joe has to work with. I think I do see a supporter. Yeah, he did top deck an N. So it's going to be his first draw supporter in several turns. I'm sure he's excited to get that. So he really needs to establish his item lock this turn. I think that's going to be one way he can actually creep back into this game. If he can maybe sacrifice, maybe a non-EX or something, or a non-GX for a turn. But I'm just trying to think how he'll be able to take a knockout on this Gyarados, because Gyarados still has, I believe it's 110 hit points. He can't attack with Tauros because Tauros will be knocked out and the game will end. And it will take him 3 turns to power up another Lurantis. So it's just a really tricky situation for him, I think, here. Okay, he has, I believe it's a Revitalizer. So he's going to be able to get 2 Grass Pokemon from his discard back into his hand. So I'll imagine we'll probably see a Fomantis and a Lurantis come back into Joe's hand. Here he's probably just taking a look at all his options. Definitely a Lurantis, that's the big thing I for sure expect to see happen here. So he's going to grab a Gloom and a Lurantis. So if he has Oddish, Gloom, and Vileplume, that would actually be great, but oh, that's actually the last card in his hand. Oh, I didn't even notice that. So, okay, and he has Lysander. He can just bring up the Lurantis for the game. And so it looks like Brian's actually going to take this series 2-0. He's going to advance on to the top 4 match. So stick around for that. We'll have to see if Brian's going to be featuring that. I believe it's a different game, though. But anyways, yeah, we do have a top 4 match and a finals match coming up. So definitely stick around for those guys. As usual, though, feel free to like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out our merch over at rarecandytcg.com. If you can pick up something to help support our channel, it'd mean a lot to us. But with that, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you for the next one.